8 Americans are dead and 32 confirmed tornadoes have ripped through 6 states since Thursday. And here is the part nobody is ready to hear. The second round is already loading up right now. What do Oklahoma wildfires, Michigan flooding, and a Virginia freeze warning all have in common tonight? The answer is one of the most violent and chaotic spring weather weeks America has seen in decades. I'm Tom, and tonight we are tracking 5 simultaneous weather disasters hitting your country at once. A grandfather in Union City, Michigan lost everything when an EF3 tornado lifted his home off the foundation. 3 of his neighbors did not survive, and Governor Whitmer declared an emergency for 33 counties. Meanwhile, 1,400 miles west, wildfire humidity in the Texas Panhandle has crashed to 9% tonight. 45-mile-per-hour gusts are turning bone-dry grassland into a blowtorch that nobody can stop right now. So let us start with the tornado outbreak, because what happened Thursday hits different on every level. The Storm Prediction Center issued moderate risk, their second highest alert level for Oklahoma and Missouri. By nightfall, supercells were firing from northern Oklahoma through southeast Kansas and deep into Illinois. A retired schoolteacher near Beggs, Oklahoma, was pulled from debris after an EF3 leveled her entire street. 2 people died there when that same tornado collapsed a commercial building right in the Beggs town center. Up in Rochester, Minnesota, an EF2 tore through a neighborhood and left behind what locals called a war zone. Down in Lena, Illinois, officials are still barring residents from entering while structural damage gets assessed. But the most powerful storm of this entire outbreak was an EF3 supercell that crossed into Branch County, Michigan. Near Union Lake, homes were completely lifted off their foundations, requiring winds exceeding 150 miles per hour. 12 people were injured in that one supercell alone, and it moved with no tornado watch in place beforehand. That last detail matters, and we will come back to it, because Washington is now asking some very serious questions. Here is what every person east of the Mississippi River needs to hear before going to bed tonight. The pattern that just leveled parts of Michigan is not finished. A second round is locked and loaded. SPC is already flagging a slight risk for Thursday, April 23rd from Des Moines all the way down to OKC. Then by Friday the 24th, that threat shifts southeast toward Arkansas, Memphis, and the Mississippi Valley. A 983 millibar surface cyclone over Manitoba will drive a powerful cold front south through the plains by Thursday night. Right now, the National Weather Service alert map is lit up across a massive corridor of the eastern United States. Freeze warnings and winter storm warnings are active tonight for Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, and western Pennsylvania. On top of that, a freeze watch for central Pennsylvania warns temperatures could drop to 26 degrees by Tuesday. NWS State College issued that watch and is urging every farmer in the region to protect sensitive crops tonight. Virginia and West Virginia carry their own freeze watch stretching all the way across the Shenandoah Valley corridor. And on the coast, flood advisories are running along Delaware and Maryland, where wind is pushing tidal water inland. The flooding in Michigan is severe enough that emergency managers are using language they almost never put in writing. Newaygo County ordered immediate evacuation along the Muskegon River floodplain with zero ambiguity in that message. They stated directly that public safety services would be suspended for anyone who chose to remain in their home. Officials warned residents to prepare for conditions worse than the April 2014 flood that wiped out hundreds of properties. Over at Cheboygan Lock and Dam, the water crept to within 5 inches of the top before crews could respond. A Level 2 evacuation order followed, meaning the probability of mandatory evacuation was already considered high. Then the Baitner Road Bridge in Traverse City, used daily by thousands of drivers, was swept completely away. The Boardman River hit its highest recorded level and simply took that bridge with it, no warning given. A local farmer near Menominee watched his access road disappear under 4 feet of water in 45 minutes flat. And it was not just Michigan and Rock County, Wisconsin. A train engineer had to be rescued from floodwater. His grain-loaded cars derailed off the tracks, and 11 Janesville residents were pulled from partially submerged homes. Right now, 7 Wisconsin rivers are at or above major flood stage, including the Wolf River at New London tonight. Both Governor Evers of Wisconsin and Governor Whitmer of Michigan have declared full disaster conditions this week. Infrastructure built for 20th century rainfall is simply failing under 2026 conditions, and that is a hard truth. Now let us make that 1,400-mile shift west, because out there the crisis looks completely different tonight. Red flag warnings are burning bright across the Texas Panhandle, Oklahoma Panhandle, and southeast Wyoming tonight. Amarillo is sitting at 9% humidity, way too dry, with gusts pushing past 45 miles per hour. Add those numbers. A single spark from a vehicle, a power line, or broken glass can start an unstoppable fire. A cattle rancher near Goodwell said he has not seen grass this dry this early in 43 years of ranching. That is not a colorful quote. It is 43 years of watching the land, and tonight it terrifies him. The Ranger Road fire earlier this year already burned 283,000 acres across Oklahoma and Kansas. That one fire alone consumed 442 square miles and destroyed hundreds of cattle operations across the region. Tonight, the Southern Plains are primed for more because 89% of Texas remains locked in droughts. If you're watching from the Panhandle, Oklahoma, or anywhere under a red flag warning tonight, drop your city below. Tell Tom what conditions look like outside your window and whether your county has issued any burn bans yet. This wildfire danger is rooted in a 6-year drought that has been grinding down the Southern Plains since 2020. Since 2020, farmers in Kansas, Oklahoma, and Texas have absorbed an estimated $23 billion in drought losses. San Antonio reservoirs hit record lows in 2024 and 2025, and the soil remains in the driest 10% nationally. A grandmother outside Asheville told a reporter her well water dropped 2 full feet this month alone, no joke. That drought is now spreading east in Charlotte. North Carolina is in its worst dry spell since 2008 tonight. 100% of North Carolina and nearly all of Virginia remain in active drought conditions right now. Wildfires have already burned near Naples and Fort Myers in Florida, and burn bans stretch across the Carolinas tonight. So we have floods, tornadoes, fires, and drought all hitting simultaneously, and then the atmosphere throws a curveball. El Nino is arriving, and meteorologists are losing sleep over what that means for the weeks and months ahead. The Nino index is approaching positive 0.5, which is the technical threshold for a weak El Nino to be declared. Warmer than normal water is building across the equatorial Pacific south of Hawaii textbook El Nino signature. Forecasters expect this to reach moderate El Nino strength by summer, and that rewrites the entire southern storm track. During El Nino, the subtropical jet stream shifts south and becomes the dominant weather maker for the Gulf Coast. That shift is already beginning, which is precisely why the end of April looks so dangerous on the models. Des Moines, you're inside Thursday's slight risk zone and should keep your weather radio on all day long. Kansas City, Wichita, and Topeka all sit inside that same Thursday threat and should monitor conditions from midday forward. Oklahoma City and Tulsa, both of you have been in the crosshairs all week, and Thursday puts you back there. Chicago, you caught the edge of last week's EF2, and the next round threatens renewed flooding across your region. Indianapolis, Cincinnati, and Columbus should watch Wednesday night closely as the new low ejects east from California. A corn farmer in the Nebraska Panhandle said his fields are cracking from drought, but fears what comes next. He told us the moisture he needs could arrive as a violent supercell, and hail would destroy every acre. Moving south Memphis and Little Rock, that severe weather threat is shifting toward your region by Friday the 24th. Shreveport, Texarkana, and the Tupelo corridor sit inside Friday's slight risk for damaging winds and large hail. Montgomery, Alabama, scattered severe storms could push into your area Friday afternoon as that cold front tracks southeast. Nashville and Louisville, a freeze advisory is threatening early planted gardens before Tuesday morning. Cover them tonight. Atlanta and Charlotte, rainfall is finally heading your way, but it comes with a severe weather price tag attached. Over on the East Coast, Washington, D.C. and Philadelphia sit under overlapping advisories for flooding and wind gusts tonight. The NWS Freeze Watch for central Pennsylvania threatens outdoor pipes, garden plantings, and sensitive crops by Tuesday dawn. Richmond and the Shenandoah Valley temperatures could drop near freezing Tuesday morning, so act on those plans tonight. New York City and Boston, you are outside the severe weather zone, but coastal flood advisories remain active through tonight. Wherever you're watching tonight, drop your city in the comments and tell Tom what your sky looks like. Whether it is drought, flood, freeze, fire, or tornado threats, your community's story belongs in this conversation. Now I need to speak directly to anyone in a mobile home from Oklahoma City through the Mississippi Valley. Mobile homes offer almost zero protection from an EF1 tornado, and the Thursday through Friday window is a real threat. Know you're near a shelter before Thursday morning, not during the warning, because you may have under 3 minutes to act. Meanwhile, the temperature roller coaster is roaring back with a vengeance across the central United States this week. The central U.S. goes from the 40s this weekend back to the 90s by Wednesday. That is not normal. South Dakota and Minnesota could hit 90 degrees midweek before another cold front crashes temperatures back to the 40s. Virginia dropped from near 90 on Friday to the upper 50s Sunday, a 30-degree collapse in just 48 hours. That kind of violent swing is the fingerprint of a restless, unstable atmosphere that is not calming down anytime soon. Now here is where things get really interesting. The two major forecast models are completely at odds right now. The European model wants to lock the eastern United States into a colder than normal pattern from April 28th onward. The American GFS model disagrees and shows eastern warmth holding on through the 25th before a slower cool down. If the European model wins, gardeners and farmers from the Midwest to the Southeast will face repeated freezing nights. But both models agree on one critical thing: a strong low near Oklahoma around April 27th is coming regardless. That system at 986 millibars could produce major thunderstorms from the deep south all the way up through the mid-Atlantic. There is good news buried here, and the drought-stricken Southeast has been waiting a very long time to hear it. The European model shows Memphis, Charlotte, Raleigh, D.C., and New York finally catching up on rainfall around April 27th. That shift is being driven partly by El Nino, which historically brings wetter conditions to the drought-parched southern tier. It will not bust the drought overnight, but consistent rain events through May could make real, meaningful progress. Now back to that Union City detail. This one came completely out of nowhere, straight from the governor's office. No tornado watch was issued before the EF3 struck, and Governor Whitmer has formally called for an investigation tonight. Her office is asking directly whether proposed budget cuts to the National Weather Service contributed to that warning gap. Federal forecasters say the storm's tiny three-county footprint made advanced detection unusually difficult to achieve. But the governor is not letting that answer stand, and Congress is now watching this Michigan situation very closely. Weather warnings save lives, and any reduction in that forecasting capacity has direct consequences for real families. Stepping back, AccuWeather says do not lower your guard because 2/3 of all tornadoes hit March through May. The 2025 season was historically active, and El Nino signals suggest the severe weather door stays wide open through June. A meteorologist in Norman told us the number of significant tornadoes this April alone is deeply concerning to forecasters. Fire agencies have already pre-positioned 2026 wildfire resources at near-record levels across Texas, Florida, and the Carolinas. A retired Branch County auto worker rebuilt after a 1998 storm and says he cannot face doing it all again. He said the evacuation siren woke his street at 3 in the morning and water was inside basements before sunrise. He is not angry, he told us, just exhausted, wondering how many more times he can start completely over. By Wednesday afternoon in Oklahoma, instability values could reach 2,000 to 3,000 joules per kilogram. Combined with wind shear in the 40 to 60 knot range, that is more than enough to fire organized supercells. The dry line extending from Minnesota down through West Texas will be the primary trigger for Thursday's storm initiation. Once that dry line fires, storms could spin up fast and grow into supercells capable of producing significant tornadoes. The Friday shift southeast into Arkansas and the Mississippi Valley extends the total outbreak window to nearly 48 hours. 48 hours is a long window, meaning multiple storm rounds could impact some of the same communities back to back. Traverse City, Midland, and Alpena, Michigan remain under active flood warnings with rivers still rising as of tonight. Madison, Green Bay, and the Milwaukee corridor should keep watching river levels very closely all the way through midweek. Springfield and Peoria, Illinois carry flood advisories tied to the swollen Illinois River running through your region. Denver, Salt Lake City, and the Colorado Front Range face a red flag watch as dangerous dry winds return. Santa Fe, Roswell, and central New Mexico also sit inside an expanded fire weather watch zone effective through Thursday. Frost and freeze conditions across central Pennsylvania could kill crops and crack unprotected outdoor pipes this week. Georgia and northern Alabama also carry an active freeze warning for early morning hours across several upcoming days. Snowflakes were actually flying near Albany, Scranton, and Montpelier on Sunday behind that powerful cold front. Old Man Winter joining forces with a volatile spring pattern, and that combination is making meteorologists very nervous. Looking ahead to May, the temperature outlook shows a stark divide between a warm west and a persistently cool northeast. The southeast will stay hotter than normal thanks to that relentless drought feedback loop running all spring long. The Midwest and Ohio Valley should see more below normal days than warm ones when you average out the full month. That means frequent cold fronts will keep firing severe weather setups across the plains and Mississippi Valley into May. Dryline setups along the Front Range and Southern Plains will be powerful triggers for supercell development all month. June could go very big for severe weather from the Southern Plains all the way north through Wisconsin and Minnesota. Here's what Tom wants every single family watching this forecast to do before Wednesday night, wherever you live. Download the FEMA app and NWS app tonight so emergency alerts reach you even if local news coverage goes dark. Find your nearest shelter right now, a basement, an interior room, or a community shelter within driving distance. If you're in a burn ban area, treat every outdoor fire source, including backyard grills, as a serious public hazard. And if you're in the Michigan or Wisconsin flood zones, never attempt to drive across flooded roads at all. A Janesville shop owner said her business flooded twice in 5 years and she simply cannot afford to rebuild again. Stories like hers are multiplying across the Midwest, and they deserve to be heard in every weather forecast conversation. The Big Falls Dam in Waupaca County, Wisconsin was being monitored all weekend for signs of potential structural failure. Officials warned of life-threatening flash flooding downstream on the Little Wolf River if conditions there worsened. Weyauwega firefighters evacuated downstream residents before dam conditions on the Little Wolf could worsen further. 5 Michigan rivers are simultaneously at major flood stage, a level of hydrological stress rarely seen in state records. A wet winter, rapid snowmelt, and 3 straight weeks of heavy April rain converged to create this catastrophic event. FEMA has already pre-positioned disaster response assets in Michigan ahead of formal federal disaster declaration requests. Total damage estimates across all affected states this week: tornadoes, floods, and fire could exceed $1 billion. In Beggs, Oklahoma tonight, families are going through rubble trying to salvage anything left after Thursday's EF3. In Traverse City, a community now reckons with a beloved bridge that sits at the bottom of a riverbed. And in central Pennsylvania, a farmer is covering seedlings tonight, praying the freeze watch does not become a full warning. These are your neighbors, your communities, your country, and this forecast touches every single one of them directly. So back to that question we opened with: Oklahoma wildfires, Michigan flooding, and a Virginia freeze warning. What they share is a country absorbing 8 simultaneous weather crises while round 2 is already loading up. 32 tornadoes, 8 dead, bridges swept away, dams at the edge, and 283,000 acres burned. April 2026 is writing itself into history as one of the most simultaneously dangerous spring weather periods in decades. The data says it gets more active before calming, and the next 72 hours will prove that either way. Stay prepared, stay locked in, and share this with anyone in tornado country or flood zones who needs it tonight. If you have friends or family in Kansas City, Tulsa, Memphis, or Shreveport, please share this forecast tonight. The more people who are informed and prepared before Thursday, the fewer lives will be at risk when storms arrive. Tom will be tracking the Thursday outbreak in real time as storm mode develops across the Central Plains Wednesday. Watch for updated SPC outlooks Wednesday afternoon, because that is when the Thursday severe weather picture sharpens. The atmosphere over the central United States is essentially a loaded gun aimed squarely at Thursday afternoon. High dew points pushing north from the Gulf will collide with cold Canadian air dropping in from the northwest. That collision zone is precisely where supercells will ignite and the tornado threat will peak Thursday evening. Tornado season 2026 is already running well ahead of the historical average for confirmed touchdowns through mid-April. Looking at the broader picture, the rainfall pattern over the next 10 days tells a deeply divided national story. Texas through the Great Lakes received most of April's rainfall, while the East Coast has been almost completely dry. The Bermuda High sitting offshore has been clockwise, pumping Gulf moisture into the central United States instead. As that Bermuda High weakens over the coming 2 weeks, the southeast should finally see more consistent rainfall. Key Corn Belt agricultural areas may actually dry out slightly, giving farmers the window to get their planting started. An Iowa farmer told us he is watching Wednesday's setup closely, hoping for moisture without the supercell hail threat. History will remember April 2026 as one of the most simultaneously dangerous spring weather periods in modern decades. This is Tom reminding you that preparation is the difference between surviving this week and becoming a grim statistic. We will be back with full Thursday severe weather coverage starting Wednesday night as storms develop in the plains.